I'll never forget the first time that I had this. It was so dang tasty. The problem is, every time I would order it at another restaurant, it didn't even compare. I'm gonna try to recreate the sopapilla recipe I had over 30 years ago. And my guess is it's gonna be ridiculously delicious. Eating at that original Casa Gallardo in St. Louis circa 1991 was a total game changer for me because no other sopapilla even came close. They were all thin, very crispy, just a hair sweet, and honestly just like fried tortilla chips. I'm pretty sure they were giving me buñuelos this whole time. Now, sopapillas are supposed to be flaky and crispy and fluffy and soft and airy. Honestly, it's like a cross between a donut and pita bread. Now, the good thing about this recipe, it's really easy to make, and there are only a few ingredients. Now, I'm going to add a couple more things to a traditional sopapilla recipe because I want to try to get it back to that original way that I had it so many years ago. Sound good? Let's bake. I've got 4 cups of all-purpose flour in a large bowl. Now, if you want to use bread flour, you're going to need to increase the hydration amount by 5 to 7%. Next, we're going to add in a half teaspoon of sea salt, followed up with 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Just grab a whisk and mix it until it is completely combined. Now I've got a 1/4 cup of fat. Make sure to scrape all that goodness in there. This is going to make sure our dough is really nice and tender when it fries up. Got some clean hands. We're going to mix this in there until it's completely incorporated into the flour, much like my ass cookies recipe. Now, because this recipe is about 200 years old or so, my guess is they probably originally used lard. So feel free to use lard, vegetable shortening, or some softened unsalted butter. And again, make sure it's completely mixed in there. Next, I'm going to form a well right into the center. This is one of those additional ingredients, but I'm going to add in 1 whisked egg. This is going to help provide structure, flavor, and tenderness to my dough. Now mix it in much like pasta. Begin to bring some of that flour into the egg just like this. Now I have a total of 1 1/3 cup of warm whole milk in between 110 and 115 degrees. We're just going to add it in 1/3 cup increments until it's completely mixed in. Now originally this recipe calls for hot water. I feel like the whole milk is going to add some fat and a lot of flavor to this. You know me, I'm swapping out and trying to pull as much flavor as possible. Add in that remaining 1/3 cup of warm milk. Begin pushing and pulling and squeezing until a dough is formed, just like this. Excellent. But what we do need to do is knead it a little bit more. So we're going to transfer it out of the bowl onto a clean surface, cutting board, or a butcher block like this. Knead it for 5 to 7 minutes by pushing down and pulling, really strengthening that gluten. This is going to make sure that that dough is nice crisp, nice and tender, all of those things. And you know I like to form it in a little ball at the end. What we're going to do next is just drape it with a kitchen towel. You could use plastic wrap as well. Now we've got about 30 to 45 minutes for this dough to rest. And what we're trying to do here is reduce some of that elasticity so that it's easier to roll out. With about 10 minutes left in the resting process, we're going to add in a few cups of neutral flavored oil to a saucepan, turn the heat down to low medium, try to get it to 350 degrees. Now let's go back over to our dough. It looks fantastic. We are going to give it a really quick knead, just 2 minutes or so, no big deal. Then using a bench knife or a regular knife, we're going to cut off a little chunk here about the size of a golf ball, give it a quick roll, and then place it down. Grab your trusty rolling pin, and what we want to do is roll it out until it's about 6 to 7 inches in diameter and about a 1/4 inch thick. You could go a little bit thinner if you want, but I want this to be really bready and full, much like that original sopapilla recipe I had. Now, if you don't have a thermometer, just hit it with some flour. If it doesn't burn but fries, we're good to go. Let's add it in there. Oh, a little bit of oil splattered out. Sorry about that. Now, what we want to do is immediately we're going to start basting this. What this is going to do is cook the other side and get it nice and hollow and flaky and browned on the outside, just like almost a perfect donut. This is only going to cook for maybe 1 to 2 minutes per side. We just want to get it browned up. It's okay if there's a little split in there. That's no issue at all. Baste the other side, again, 1 to 2 minutes. Once it is done cooking, we're simply going to set it to the side on a sheet tray lined with some paper towels to drain any excess oil. Now, making these and serving these up round like this wouldn't be the traditional way. No, that's just the way they did it at that restaurant way back in the day. Here's what you would do instead. After you've rolled it out to 6 or 7 inches, we're just going to use a bench knife and cut it into 4 individual pieces, just like a triangle. Go over to your oil, add it in there, all of them at the same time, plenty of room there.
And just like with that bigger one, you want to use a spoon and begin to baste it so they puff up like a little pillow, just like this. This is just an easier way to eat them in more classic shape that would be served traditionally in Mexican cuisine. We're just going to also set them to the side to drain them on paper towels. And why not just pull one of the big ones apart so you can see the inside? Yes, flaky, tender, crispy. Gosh, are these so dang good. Now that we've made quite a few of them, let's plate one up. I'm going to serve it on a small plate just like this. Now, this is very classic. We're going to sprinkle on some ground cinnamon, plenty of powdered sugar, last but not least, some warm honey, just like this, and so awesome. This is exactly how I remember it 30 years ago. And this would be the true classic way to serve it up and eat it.
I want to try one more thing because I've seen it served up this way so many times. We're going to add a lot of goodness to the top of this.
It's sauce time, my friends. We are going to add in 1 cup of heavy whipping cream, followed up with 3 tablespoons of sugar into a small size sauce pot. Just in case you're wondering, we're going to make a tasty chocolate sauce. Going over to the burner, we're going to crank the heat onto low medium. This is going to cook very quickly. We want to get it just to a boil, just like this. Perfect. Remove it from the heat. Bring it back over to our countertop. I'm going to next add in 1 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips. Whisk it until it is completely combined and smooth, just like this. Just so I can show you, I'm going to grab a spoon. You can see how liquidy that is. That would pour perfectly on any single dessert. Set it to the side. Next, how about a caramel sauce? We're going to add 8 tablespoons or 1 stick of unsalted butter, followed up with a 1/4 cup of heavy whipping cream. Next, 1 cup of packed light brown sugar. Let's crank the heat to low medium. What we want to do is immediately begin to whisk this. This is going to cook very quickly. We want to get it to a very low boil and make sure it's completely smooth. Again, let's just grab a spoon, make sure it will pour very easily. Excellent, looks fantastic. We're not quite done yet. Let's remove it from the cooktop. Now, because I love this flavor, I'm going to add in a 1/2 teaspoon of salt to make a delicious salted caramel. Delicious. Set it to the side. And then last but not least, you've seen me make it a million times, but why not again? We're going to add 2 cups of heavy whipping cream to a stand mixer, a 1/2 cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. We're going to make homemade whipping cream here. Put down the whisk attachment and then mix it first at low speed until it starts to come together. Then you can move it to high speed. I just do that so it doesn't fly out everywhere. Okay, once it reaches stiff peaks after about 4 minutes or so, just like this, we are going to serve it up or set it to the side in the refrigerator until it's ready to be used.
So simple, so delicious, and it always does come back to these fundamental basic cooking techniques because when it comes time to reinvent or even recreate another dish, you will have the skill and the intuition to figure a lot of it out. That's what's so awesome about this and will always elevate your everyday cooking.
Now let's make a loaded up sopapilla. We are going to add on a lot of chocolate sauce. Hit it with that caramel sauce. Next, why not a scoop of vanilla ice cream? Look at that steam out of there. Now we're going to still hit it with cinnamon, powdered sugar. Let's not, of course, forget about a nice heaping scoop of that whipped cream.
Now, if you love this recipe, you absolutely have to check out my funnel cake. It will take you straight back to the county fair. So good. I'll see you on there.